just to let you all know, the big button is pressed. We're on record. So if you could stop the gossiping that you were going on with there.
It's more bullying.
There is a notice on the outside of the studio to be aware that at all times you're being recorded. So it's not the place to have those conversations that you were just having. Well, and I'm afraid I can't share them with you.
No, I didn't realise I was being recorded before. Do you remember we were talking about something?
And I wasn't bullying. All you said was, I can't remember how this microphone works. And I said, well, you speak into it.
We were talking about an individual who was worried that Emer was being bullied on the podcast. Yeah. And he then attacked the individual's,
wife
character?
No, I didn't. No.
No, people, this is the thing, it's like the great misconception. People on the street seem to think Niall is being not treated very well.
Because he's a sneaky, slithery little slimy, isn't he?
What he's really give you
like. Where's the comment really that I enjoyed on our most recent Crime World video?
Right.
Just wait.
Is this the one that you already spoke about that I told you was one of the McGregor crew?
No. This is the most recent one. Let me have a look now. Niall just has what the kids call aura. Let's be honest.
Oh my God. Is that your mother there?
A-U-R-A, aura.
Yeah. And then, I'm not sure what that means. And Chloe as well. I walked past Chloe and she commented on my t-shirt.
Now,
and she said, I love your aesthetic.
Okay, that does not necessarily mean that. It's just that it stands out. And actually, let's start this. Could you just turn around?
Yeah.
No, I'm not a performing monkey.
You are actually, so just please turn around.
I brought up the fact that Chloe said I have my aesthetic.
So the front of your t-shirt looks vaguely normal. The back of it is some sort of a weird scene from a Makey Uptown in Italy or something.
Yeah, it makes me want.
And I asked him about it. I thought he was going to say to me, I bought it on my holidays, or, I thought it was some place I didn't realise was super cool that could be emblazoned on a t-shirt. He got it, he said, in pennies.
Yeah. No, that doesn't surprise me.
No, he needs to be taken in hand, and I am going to do that.
I offered to help because for his holiday shop, I offered to help, and he said that would be really weird not doing that.
It would be weird.
It would. Can you imagine Emer? Try that one on. Go on. Try that one on. That's too big, and you go on. Try another one on.
Well, I wouldn't need to. But I would go and say, "How about this?"
Yeah.
Because he didn't know what evening shorts to wear for holidays. So I was like, "Do you just wear your swim shorts?"
It's all academic.
Well,
she's never in with her career breaks anyway. So
we will get him one day and we'll bring him down and dress him.
Was he well dressed at your picnic?
I can't quite remember.
I was wearing a Cocaine Cowboys t-shirt.
Yeah, I remember that day, that night. Yeah. I eventually had to put my coat over that one. But I can't remember what you were wearing for the rest of it. Sorry.
No gossip.
I'm sure you can't remember what I was wearing either.
Not particularly. I remember.
No. We were in neighbouring tents, lamps.
Could you hear him snoring?
No, but you're...
my son recorded a video.
Of you snoring?
Yeah. I actually think I did hear you snoring before. I'll be honest with you, right? So night 1, 4 a.m, we're eventually tiptoeing through the tents.
You were out at 4 a.m?
Yeah, because now, in fairness, I also got lost for a bit of it. But tiptoeing back, and I did, because I didn't want to wake him.
Yeah. Because he's probably in bed at 9 p.m.
Well, he would have been in bed before me, definitely, but I just didn't want to wake him, so then it would be just easier the next morning as I pretended I was absolutely fine. But, I think I did hear you snoring. But it was only kind of a gentle little...
Oh, I can't stand it.
Well...
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, look, if you're going to snore, you're going to snore on the floor, on the ground, flat on the ground with a pillow like that.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll give them that.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to start with... Well, we're going to start with the man himself and, go for it, actually. I mean, it's a story that really, is just so Trumpian.
We discuss all these complex issues of crime and punishment, whether people are allowed, should be, at what point they're rehabilitated, how the state should deal with people in complex backgrounds get involved in crime and the socio-economic factors that play into it. Donald Trump just blew them up.
Yeah. He blew up a ship.
He blew up a ship.
A Venezuelan ship, which he said was running drugs into the US.
Yeah.
A Venezuelan cartel, he said, was behind it. And he just dropped a bomb on it.
But it probably wasn't the cartel leaders on it, though. It was probably
what happens is he
immigrants.
He bombed it. it was what he described as a drug carrying vessel, which departed from Venezuela, which has been the focus of a lot of the Trump administration's drug dealing, even more so than Mexico. They've targeted on Venezuela and this gang in particular, and they've used that as part of for justification for rounding up a lot of immigrants, that they're part of this gang trend. They're Aragu. I'm not sure if that's the pronunciation. Anyway, so this boat is coming along. There's 11 people on it, and it just gets bombed into the sky and all the people killed.
And does he use the military to do that?
He uses the military, and what he says was, we have tapes of them speaking. It was a massive amount of drugs coming into our country to kill a lot of people. And he said on Truth Social, literally shot out a boat, a drug dealing boat, a lot of drugs on that boat.
Oh my God, that's just so basic, isn't it?
It's very scary though, isn't it? Like
it is, but you know, the thing about it is, it's back to the war on drugs in the States. Everyone knows about. We don't need to go into the details, the history of it. But here you have Trump coming in, lurching into this situation. And like with everything else, he just thinks a bit of bullying, a bit of hefty bullying to sort of the surrounding countries, and political bullying is going to make all the difference. So in Mexico, he's friendly enough with the Mexican president.
He likes the
Mexican president. So they've had these kind of friendly enough relations. There's been the tariff situation that was all, you know, he was threatening, I think, to put hefty tariffs, and then that all came down and all the rest of it. He's had his wall with Mexico for a long time. But in general, he's on vaguely good relations with them. And he is, but however, threatening on sending his military into Mexico to police, because in Mexico, the drug gangs are going against one another. As we know, there's a big problem in Sinaloa and other areas. Big piece in the New York Times this week about how they are using military weaponry, in particular drones, against one another, the drug gangs. So they're sending drones with carrying bombs right into enemy territory without having to lose any personnel. And this is the way it's going for a long time. The Ukrainians obviously are using drones in modern warfare. The drone is the new gun.
Yes.
And so the Mexican cartels are ahead of their game with this, and they're using really high-grade mortar bombs and all the rest of it. Really scary stuff. And of course, Trump is now saying he's going to lurch into Mexico with his military and start bombing them as well, obviously.
It's interesting. It's an interesting story because it shows the intersection of crime and politics, really, because for a start, Trump is not wrong. I mean, these drug cartels have caused a huge amount of destruction in the US and loss of life, both through assassinations, but also through the fentanyl crisis that at least in part was driven by these cartels. So he's not wrong that these are bad people, as he describes them, but he's also used the existence of these criminal cartels as in part for declaring a national emergency that allows him to round up illegal immigrants and get them out of the country. And that is the legal basis on which he's carrying this out.
But you'd wonder how much intelligence he had about who was on that boat, because, you know,
he doesn't care.
That's what I mean. So we know from here, the people that end up with the drugs are usually the drug addicts or the really vulnerable people.
Or just, you know, nautical workers or whatever, people who can sail, who maybe had a business and all the rest of it. They're kind of ordinary people getting paid a wage. You won't get the bosses on the boats with the drugs in any way, shape or form. But he's used to kind of fight fire with fire. So they're designated, a lot of these groupings, terrorist organizations.
They are.
So he's going at them now with the military.
Yeah.
And I mean, this has happened before. I mean, you go all the way back to Escobar. And Pablo Escobar, you know, takes on the state of Colombia. A new president comes in, does a deal with him, allows him to go into his own prison, which he builds himself, serve his time with all his buddies, and the staff members at the prison are his own people. And that happens. And then he's putting more and more pressure on the president to try and, you know, make illegal any suggestion of extradition to the US. So the US do come in and they take him out. And they come in. So they have a long history of going in to countries, now usually with the political agreement. And of course, they did it after September the 11th, where they did these, you know, basically
took people from their home countries and brought them back to custody in the US or off-site in the US. But most of these occasions you're speaking about with Pablo Escobar and after September the 11th, the US state would say nothing, or they were very secretive about it. And when these things did come out, there would be a kind of a scandal. The difference with Trump is he's putting out the video himself of him blowing these guys up and, making statements saying, let this serve as notice to anyone even thinking about bringing drugs into the United States of America. Beware. So it's a different...
He's essentially ordered the Pentagon to begin using military force
and
against these drug cartels.
And instead of, the scandals, I remember there was huge scandals with these where suspected members of Islamic groups were taken from their countries. There was a massive, massive scandal. But the difference is with Trump, he's putting it out himself and embracing it. And so it's an interesting development.
But it's war. It's going to be the state against the cartels. The cartels have built up these huge military armaments. Huge.
Yeah.
And now the state is going to go after them in a military fashion. You're talking a full-blown war against the cartels. You'd wonder... again, there's so many people have been murdered and killed. Like, how many innocents are going to be caught in the crossfire of this? Are people just with, no alternative but to earn a wage through it?
No, and of course, the American public over the years in various times have been outraged at these sort of extrajudicial killings, no matter who was involved. But, is that going to become the case again, or do the American public just accept that 11 people can be killed with a bomb without any, legal proceedings? Or
it's not really something you'd see in the Western world, is it? Like, you probably have seen, as you said, incidents like that in Mexico and other countries, in South America and that. But yeah, it's just it's
the idea of the military going in and fighting a drug cartel and taking out leaders is probably not something we're going to see in Europe, certainly in the future. Having said that, we're at a point where drug gangs and let's take little old Ireland, are using drones and they're using 3D weapons, and they are kind of moving to more and more of this sort of military style. The guns, a lot of the guns that have been found in recent times have been submachine guns, Uzis, where one pull of the trigger and you're releasing a spray of bullets. So it is changing. We're not going to see our military going in, I wouldn't imagine, after the Gucci gang or anything like that. But they are. There was a story recently there about 3D guns you were talking about.
Yeah, there's been, and some of them you can't go into the details because of court proceedings, but basically 3D guns are, you can download instructions on the internet. In fact, in America, they tried to ban them and somebody took a case. So it's there, the instruction manual on how to build a 3D gun. So you go into a 3D printers, which people aren't probably totally familiar with at this stage, but you can buy a 3D printer on the internet.
For your house
for a few £100, and they're going to become commonplace. Then you print out the parts of the gun and you put it together, and it's as simple as that. Maybe not as simple as that.
We've been through this before, but I'm going to have to put you through it again.
Yeah.
So a gun is metal.
A gun is metal, but...
Or it's made out of very hard plastic.
Yes.
Okay. So if this printer is going to print the bits...
Yes.
Do you have to pour the plastic into what you would be putting the printing? You do?
Yes. You exactly.
Yeah, so magic happens, exactly.
Exactly. So, it's mostly...
Only you would get away with asking that question. No, if I asked that now, I'd be like, what is wrong with you?
It's mostly...
reality, cartoon life.
But, so there's obviously the reason there's reinforced plastics, and that's part of that's the basic element of 3D printing, but it can also be parts of metal as well.
So but the same material is used in a gun if, for example, you wanted to print a chair?
Yeah,
So there's going to be no sort of red flag if somebody's looking for this particular material that's used in the 3D guns?
No, there's not going to be. Now, obviously, there's...
He's winging it.
No, that is it.
He's winging it. I always know when he's winging it. He kind of goes... No.
He's not used to not knowing it. He usually knows everything.
Google.
Well, so I mean, there are like you can print the parts of it, and some of it, I suppose, gunpowder and bullets and all of that might be more complex. You might have to buy them, but the basic parts of it can be printed. And some of them, when you see the 3D guns seized, they're largely plastic, hard plastic.
Yeah.
Now there may have to be bits of it that are, metal or whatever.
They have to be fireproof and everything, don't they?
They do, but I mean, it's a workable system. And there's a famous 3D gun, I can't remember what it's called in particular, but the instructions are there. If you Google it, it'll come up within 4 or 5 searches. And so they are being used.
Yeah, so we've seen incidents of these, and we're probably seeing more and more. I mean, this isn't, if a story breaks that there's been a 3D gun seized, or if there's somebody believed to be making them, it's no longer news that this is the first. We're seeing it more and more.
Yes, and there's criminal prosecutions coming before the courts. There's probably bits of it, like the barrels and stuff like that, have to be metal, but they can be imported separately.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now the drones are very much being used, and in actual fact, they're being used to drop the drugs into prisons, and the nets were reinforced, weren't they?
Yeah.
And then they were sort of burning through the nets with the drugs. To drop them into prisons.
Flaming drones.
Yeah.
Burning drones, yeah.
So the drones have been used, and we're all using them for photography and stuff like that, but obviously
for
more
people
high-powered.
using them for getting takeaways and stuff like that.
And like drug deliveries?
Drug deliveries are definitely occurring.
I think so, yeah.
With drones.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously the fact is drones are controlled by radio signals. So they're not going to be traceable, the radio signal. I presume there is some way to trace some of it, but it's not going to be like a phone where you register a phone so it does allow you to do something from a distance.
We recently had a story, because I remember you and I talking about it, that there was a pipe bomb delivered to a house with a drone. And we discussed how...
Yeah, in Finglas, I mean, there was a pipe bomb attack from a drone. They actually got the wrong house in the end, I think.
Was this the one linked to Fisher Fitzgerald?
This is the one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if you think about it from a criminal point of view, you don't have to send a human being round with it.
No.
You don't have to send a car which can be picked up on CCTV.
Exactly.
You're sending in this little flying object that I presume can be blown up in a suicide bomb style attack with your pipe bomb. But you're doing exactly what the cartels in Mexico, in Venezuela, and etc. are doing it. They're just doing it at a much higher level, and probably with more expensive equipment.
Yeah, and I mean...
So it is already happening.
It's already happening. And obviously the next stage is as you said, most of the war in Ukraine, at this point, a lot of the deaths are as a result of drone assassinations, effectively. Now, we haven't seen that used in gangland in Europe, as far as I know. But that technology, those drones are being built for a few thousand quid probably. And somebody some point will use it. We're
ahead of our game here, you know what I mean? That pipe bomb that was delivered to the wrong house could have gone off and somebody could have been killed.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of recklessness.
And that would have been the first.
And if you look at, of course, the Hutch Kinahan feud, I mean, the majority of the Kinahan murders that were carried out, a good portion of them involved tracking devices, which were... Back in the day when we started, I think I remember somebody writing about a tracking device being used. Gardaí believe a tracking device was used. I'm thinking, that just doesn't sound likely. But it became commonplace. So technology, criminal gangs will always exploit that technology, and it allows them to stay one step ahead of the law enforcement, which law enforcement have really quite got on top of assassinations at this point.
Is it harder for them to track then as well? Obviously if your fingerprints are on a tracking device, or if you're seen,
you can see
whereas
not the
with
way
drones,
they caught them buying them, because they were probably only available in certain... Wasn't there a spy shop or something?
There was a spy shop, and also they were being
them
implanted on the cars, and a good few of them were spotted on CCTV putting the actual tracking devices on when they went back a couple of years. Through a lot of the CCTV.
Well, the tracking device, interestingly, in one of the cases, and I just can't remember off the top of my head which one it was, but the tracker had started working from when it was purchased, and it sort of tracked the people who were trying to attach it before it did it track. Was it Patrick Keating or something? It tracked him up to Newry or something like
they
this.
They tracked Michael Gately to Newry, hadn't they?
But I think that the car that the tracker travelled in basically was tracking
and there was
itself.
also they were being there was tracking devices being controlled from an apartment, and they were able to trace it from that point. So that would obviously, like law enforcement will catch up on that stuff. But yeah, it's definitely an issue.
And then you look at the sort of the military grade weapons, and wasn't it Josh Itselli?
Yes,
was he was killed with an extremely powerful firearm? Yeah, a military assault rifle, an AR-15.
Yeah,
and that's for use in combat zones and war zones. It just struck me there recently. So Josh Itselli was 20 when he was killed. Last year. Yeah. So February coming is going to be the 10-year anniversary of the Regency Hotel. Mm-hmm. What happened afterwards maybe stopped people or gangs considering going to, murderous wars with one another. It's not really worth it. So many people lost their lives. The business suffered to such an extent. Yeah. And really the dismantling of the Byrne/Kavanagh gang was a bit of a lesson to all. But the likes of Josh Itselli, was he 10 when the Regency happened? He was a child. See how quickly a decade can pass? And all those things that might have been learnt by a particular generation have now been usurped by a younger generation who weren't engaged with it at all.
Yes, but of course the older generation continued to feed into them their knowledge. And in the Josh Itselli case, the hand of older experienced criminals is there, not obviously in the shooting itself, but in the supplying of that weapon. And of course, Josh Itselli was facing charges in relation to crack cocaine dealing at the time of his death. Yeah. So again, it's a multi-generational thing, because they were basically the next generation of street gang involved in selling drugs, really street dealing in the South Inner City, being sponsored by older, more established criminals. And of course, they were selling those drugs in some of the flat complexes where people like Frat Freddie Thompson and his crew first got their break, in that business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, though, that incident was a lot less organised than the Regency attack was. So I think it also plays into the kind of the recklessness now of these younger criminals, that they're shooting haphazardly and they don't seem to care about the consequences maybe as well. They're not thinking the same way that the older criminals may have thought about it in terms of a business.
For sure. Mm-hmm. So always, as usual, lots going on in gangland and with feuding young gangs and all the rest of it. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, there was a couple of incidents that we haven't spoken about, yeah?
Yeah, well, I think myself and you did a short little bit on it last week, but I suppose it's still sort of being investigated. Obviously, there hasn't been, the last couple of weeks have been sort of quieter than usual in the gangland front in Dublin, but there has been a few things. So Joey Morgan, he is, he has a lot of convictions, particularly for burglary, but he seems to be involved in an incident with members of the Hennessy gang out in Blanchardstown, and he was shot in the armpit last week. And he obviously didn't sustain serious injuries, but there's been a lot around that. It was a younger member of the Hennessy gang was suspected of targeting him, that maybe blamed him for blamed him for an incident where this younger member was targeted. And there seems to be sort of a lot of tit for tat things going on. Obviously, we spoke about how the Hennessy, Jason Hennessy Sr. was obviously shot dead in Blanchardstown Steakhouse at Christmas Eve a couple of years ago. And then his son, Devin Hennessy, has pleaded guilty to that torture attack where a man was branded with rat on him. But there's still, maybe it hasn't exploded as much, but there's still a few things going on out there. And then there's another serious criminal by the name of Eric Norton. You guys have spoken about him a lot in the podcast. He pleaded guilty last week to 3 different drug charges and a burglary charge. And he's been linked to a lot of kind of serious players in Dublin, including Mr. Big, the drugs boss, and had an ongoing feud with
Drogheda.
Yes, and he had an ongoing feud with Robert Rue Redmond, who is serving a murder sentence now in jail. But, we should
do a kind of a proper podcast on that, next week.
Yeah, he was the
Big
guy,
time.
of course, he was involved in a feud with Rue Redmond, but it was Bernard Fogarty and him had, Bernard Fogarty maybe had a one-way YouTube war with Eric Norton where he was threatening to kill him. And,
Let's pull all that stuff together and we'll do something sort of, in depth more on it. What has caught your eyes?
Well, a story that I caught my eye because it's so infamous at this point, and it's just one of those something you'd see in a movie. The latest in the Kerry babies, obviously. Well, in terms of, we had a story at the weekend. Patrick O'Connell was speaking to a solicitor of a couple who were basically arrested by Gardaí. It was nearly 2 years ago now, and they were alleged to be the baby John. So obviously everyone knows the story. There was a baby was found on a beach in Kerry decades ago now and had multiple stab wounds, and nobody could ever find the parents of the baby. Obviously there was a woman falsely accused and that became a massive scandal. So 2 years ago the Gardaí arrested this couple out of nowhere, and they had their DNA taken, and basically the solicitor representing them has slammed the investigation and said that they basically, the file, despite it being 2 years, the file of the couple has still not been sent to DPP. They still haven't been told any conclusive result from that DNA testing. And
they haven't?
That's what he's saying.
So we don't know whether they are confirmed as the parents?
They completely deny that.
They completely deny that.
Now, apparently at the time, it was meant to be alleged that the DNA results
he's got
did
a point
show that.
there, because that stuck in my head that was confirmed that they were the parents. Do you know a story that is 2 years ago and you were engaged at the time and then you move on and everything fills up because we're doing so much stuff. But that was stuck in my head. Yeah. I thought that confirmation, so it wasn't confirmed.
No, well, it was said at the time that the Gardaí could prove, it was alleged that the Gardaí could prove from the results that they were the parents, but there hasn't been, they deny that, according to the solicitor, strongly deny that. They say their life has been turned upside down. They're well respected in their community. They have adult children, and basically they hadn't so much as a parking ticket, and the guards just arrived at their house one night and pulled them out. Now the guards, there's obviously other theories that they are believed to be the parents and results prove that, but that hasn't been, according to the solicitor, forwarded to anybody. And the Gardaí did give a statement and said that they can't comment, the investigation's ongoing, and they said a file will be sent to DPP. But I suppose it raises questions about 2 years, do you know?
Well, I suppose, though, presumably they were arrested. And at
they were arrested, yeah.
And at that point, it was put to them that this DNA, gave this suggestion. And what the solicitor is saying is that it's not being confirmed to them by the police. Mm-hmm. So it's not being confirmed to them that it's not them either. So
no, but they deny it. But that's what he's saying. Nobody has come out and said
he's annoyed. It's taken, and they are annoyed.
Which is reasonable. Which is reasonable.
It is absolutely.
And what offence are they even?
And what's the delay? The Director of Public Prosecutions.
Well, his main complaint is that a file hasn't been actually sent to them yet.
Hasn't even been sent there because a file can sit there for a couple of years too.
Exactly. And the guards did send us a statement, and they kind of said they can't talk about it, but they said a file will be sent. So that's kind of them confirming that they haven't sent it, even though they didn't say that explicitly. But they said a file will be sent to the DPP.
Because usually in an investigation, if there's, say, an investigation into a murder or something like this, the arrests are only made when everything else is done. All the ducks are in a row, because the Gardaí can only put to the suspect what they already have investigated. In other words, if they end up in court, they can only rely on what questions they put to the suspect under arrest. So they usually kind of arrest them when they've everything done. All their I's dotted, their T's crossed.
Yeah.
So it's not like usually after an arrest it takes another few years to get a file together. Are they adding information to that? Presumably they can do a second arrest if they have something
new.
Majorly new,
Yeah. So I suppose it's the DNA sparked the arrest, the DNA tests, and people will remember that a lot of the locals came forward and offered up DNA in order to kind of narrow down
and then
suspects.
they were able to say, for example, if we were related and I gave DNA, it could
would
come
indicate,
up, but it would be only a percentage, and then you could look at whether it was a parent or a aunt, uncle, whatever.
Yeah.
And this is really what I think happened in this case.
Yeah. And then that was put to them. So it's very, look, I mean, it's such a long time ago that... but
it's extraordinary. It's kind of bolshy move by the solicitor to come out and criticise the Gardaí like that, and presumably there's a lot of frustration behind that.
Yeah, he's basically said it was a complete waste of time. That's his theory, like, on it. The comments were very strong, but I suppose this case has been going on since 1984, so it's a long time.
It sure is. It sure is. Secrets of the past.
Do you want to ask me my favourite story is?
What is your favourite story then? This is going to be something nutty. Go on.
An Irish man who entered Australia on a fake passport and escaped hotel detention by scaling 3 stories using bed sheets has been handed a 12-month sentence in a Queensland court.
Brilliant.
Is that not good?
It is very cartoony.
Michael Connors, he entered Australia several times under 7 different aliases before he was finally arrested. And so he got caught because on the 7th occasion he came in with a different passport or whatever. The passport wouldn't scan and he was detained, and this biometric data didn't match or something like that. So he was taken to what is called the Meriton Suites in Brisbane's CBD, which I think is kind of an immigration centre, but it's not a prison.
It sounds like a 5-star hotel.
No, I don't think it is, right? So 2 days later, he escaped through the window using bed sheets to reach the ground. Laughter spread around the court, except for Mr. Connors, who didn't laugh, the reporter says, when Magistrate Peter Saggers interjected, "I haven't seen that since Boggo Road in the late 80s, early 90s. And that sparked laughter. What is Boggo Road? I don't know. I might Google it while we finish this conversation.
Okay.
So he went on the run for 4 months. But he got caught, probably not showing that he may not be the criminal mastermind.
He's a rascal. He's one of my rascals, I think.
He did, but how he got caught was he applied for a driver's license, I think, in his own name. And that seems to have, he notified that, he applied for under the alias Daniel Connors. And he provided another counterfeit Irish passport in support of that application. And so
he loves a little story like that.
Yeah, no, that did really well for us when he originally that claim, because obviously that's a sentence, isn't it?
The tying together of the bed sheets.
It's a really good headline. Like, it does catch you.
Well, so
it's like an old movie or something.
But one of here is his mitigation.
Go on.
His lawyer told the court that his client, who identified as an Irish traveller, faced threats of violence in his home country. That was the reason for him travelling to Australia. His intention was to bring his wife and 3 children here. And he also said it was very tough because he spent 34 days awaiting sentence in solitary confinement.
So he was looking literally nearly for asylum in Australia.
Sort of unofficial.
Basically, yeah. It's years, isn't it? That he was a couple of years he's on the run, isn't it?
Well, yeah. So he was sentenced to 12 months imprisonment for using false documents, 6 months imprisonment for escaping detention, and all of it will run concurrently. And, magistrate said that while he would be released from prison in Queensland in December, Mr. Connors' outstanding warrant, so he seems to have another warrant in the other part of Australia. What happens to you after that, I don't know. But what I suspect is that there are some kids in Ireland who want you home, he said.
Oh, the Australians take that very seriously. He'll be on the first plane home after he gets released, I'd say.
Well, he may be on the first...
Hopefully Donald Trump doesn't have anything to do with his...
Knowing his past, he may be on the first plane back after being sent home as well. So.
Yeah.
You're like a scallywag. I was doing something far more sensible this week than doing that. I had a little nose into a very short pre-trial hearing that was held in Belfast Crown Court in relation to the Bloody Sunday trial. Are you aware of this? Because this has gone on, obviously, another story that has been going on and on and on and has meandered its way through scandalous inquiries onto less scandalous inquiries. There has been people accused of terrorism that were innocent civilians, etc., etc. 1972, January, at the Bogside area of Londonderry, the Parachute Regiment shot at civilians during a civil rights demonstration. Now, there's this guy called Soldier F, and he has anonymity.
He has anonymity, and former paratrooper.
And I don't think we're allowed to say, well, we're allowed to say very little about him. In actual fact, I'm going to try and attend maybe the opening of this case to see, which I just think will probably be ultimately the details of what happened on the day. But Soldier F is going on trial on Monday, the 15th of September.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's charged with murder in relation to the killings of James Ray and Willie McKinney. And they were among 13 people that were shot dead that day by the Parachute Regiment. And Soldier F has also pleaded not guilty to 5 counts of attempting to murder Patrick O'Donnell, Joseph Friel, Joe Mahan, Michael Quinn, and what is described as an unknown person on the same date. Now, at the pre-trial hearing, it was kind of like, I suppose, a little bit of housekeeping, to make sure that discovery has been given to either side, etc. The judge was told that the trial was due to go ahead on that day. It'll last 5 to 6 weeks. That screening is going to have to be arranged for Soldier F so nobody can see him. He appears to have some hearing complaints, so he's going to need special headphones. And the judge asked the clerk to make sure that there was enough headphones because of, I suppose, the age of a lot of people now at this stage,
How old is he?
So he would be, 1972 it happened, which is 53 years ago.
So he was a young man.
And he was a young man, probably in his 20s. So he's in his 70s. Yeah.
Or maybe more.
Don't know exactly, but he's sort of in his mid to 70s or whatever.
Yeah.
And he is going to be brought for the trial, but he will be behind a screen throughout. It's expected that, look, the Bloody Sunday in Derry is still really raw because of what happened that day and in the aftermath. And there's a fabulous museum up in Derry, which is manned by a lot of relatives of people that were affected, killed or injured. Yeah. And they will speak to you. You can do a tour of exactly where everything happened. But I suppose before the trial gets underway, the prosecution is due to open, which I imagine is going to be the first thing that happens on the Monday. After that, there'll be mappers and planners who will come in to show where things happened, right? Now, that's going to take a period of time. But then there's going to be applications on this hearsay evidence, and that relates to placing Soldier F inside Glenfadda Park when the shootings take place. So that hearsay evidence will be critical to the trial, I suppose, going ahead. And it'll have to be, obviously the defence are going to object to that hearsay evidence. The prosecution are going to want it in. So that will happen. But nonetheless, if the trial does reach a conclusion, and it goes for 5 to 6 weeks, there's going to be people getting up to describe, what their memories of that time 53 years ago. There's going to be a lot of people there who have lost loved ones. That victim, not to just pull out one, but Willie McKinney, I did interview his brother, Mickey McKinney, it was last year, I think. And he describes losing his brother like it happened yesterday. The injustice of what happened in the aftermath of it, when basically there was collusion to suggest that these people were terrorists and they were.
The big claims were claims of British soldiers coming under fire from the IRA, and of course Martin McGuinness was said to have fired the first shot. So there was initial inquiries that the British state absolutely said they were justified in what they did, and over time that has been.
Well, there was a second inquiry.
There was
a tribunal, and that those claims were disclaimed.
100%, and it, Tony Blair, I think at the time, stood up and apologised and said that what happened was not as the British establishment, rounded in support of the troops. Some of the reason why the Soldier F trial is controversial is because of his anonymity. Now, if you go on trial for murder in this country or in the north, there's no anonymity granted. So we see it all the time. Somebody, even if there is, say, for example, a gangland connection, somebody goes on trial, they're named, it's an open court, it's part of the legal system down here and up the north. However, Soldier F has been granted this anonymity and this ability to give evidence from behind, or to be in court behind a
And he may
curtain.
have to give evidence.
He may, he may choose to, or certainly he's entitled to stay quiet, but he may choose to give evidence.
I'll tell you what he was more concerned with, or certainly his legal team were more concerned with in the court, was that he makes sure that he gets comfort breaks.
Yeah.
And that they happen at a particular time and during the mid-morning session and everything.
And of course, he's been granted this anonymity on the basis that he'd be at huge threat if he wasn't given it.
Yeah, I think the case couldn't happen in Derry because he argued that he'd be under huge threat there. So it's happening in Belfast. Now there's expected to be, I mean, given that anniversaries for Bloody Sunday and events that are organised draw huge crowds still.
Yeah.
There is expected to be peaceful protests or gatherings or whatever, but nonetheless, they will probably be very large at the court.
They will, and of course, the other side is it's controversial from the other side because, in particular, the Tory party in the UK have campaigned. Boris Johnson, when he was the Prime Minister, consistently spoke about how they believed that soldiers from the British Army who were involved in conflict in the Northern Ireland shouldn't face prosecution. And in fact, they brought in new laws as a result. We also did a story in recent times about how, banners in support of Soldier F had appeared at various marches in traditional loyalist areas of the North. The other argument against this anonymity, which is very unusual, is that literally, while he's not been named publicly in the media, everybody involved.
Well, because of social media as well. I
Yes.
mean, I think there have been incidents where his identity has been.
It has, and of course, in other publications outside of Ireland or outside of the North, that ban doesn't apply as such.
Does it not?
Well, I mean, it's more complicated, I suppose, than it not applying. But I mean, the British state can't ban an American newspaper from publishing something.
So where is can we?
Well, you would argue that there be. I mean, we have a Sunday World North edition, so it might
Forget
be
about the
slightly
Sunday
more.
World, but Crime World. I mean, are we under that anonymity?
Well, I mean, you could make an argument that we're not.
I would have to make that in a court of law, yeah.
Well,
Or
you
I could
might
make
have
it-
to.
I could make
but
it
I
in
mean,
our court of law.
no, but I mean, the
Yeah.
British government can't tell you what to do. He was named by the Village magazine
Yeah.
in Ireland. Obviously, the internet goes across borders, and there's all these legal complications. But no, I mean, you can't enforce it. The British government.
So he's been
have
named
no-
by the Village. So we are a broadcast entity that is based in Dublin. So we are not subject to that order.
If
Do
you
we
have-
know? Let's
We
go.
have, but the Media House Ireland, we have obviously publications that publish in the North.
So what you're saying to me is I could shut down the whole company.
Well, I don't know, but
Well, you could,
think that-
you could.
Or I could end up in jail.
Which
I wouldn't be too happy
you might give
about
Fergus
having
Foodie a heart
camped at,
attack.
having camped at Electric Picnic.
But if you
I don't think I
remember,
could do a couple of nights in
it's
jail.
slightly more complicated by the digital era. But
Yeah.
if you remember back in the day, there'd be super injunctions placed on celebrities in the UK, and the Sunday World in the South used to routinely break them and
Yes.
publish them.
Yes.
So
this is
the
what I'm
same
thinking.
thing would apply in theory. However, there's a digital product, and if the digital product, for example, sells ads in the North or makes any revenue in the North, it could be slightly more complicated. But no, the British state can't ban the Irish publications from doing. From what they publish, and that's why the Village have published it, and they don't
Yeah.
publish in the
You
North.
certainly wouldn't particularly be too comfortable going in to a judge if you had completely flaunted the rules of a court and then
Well-
hoping to sit in a court and cover a case. But still,
If
anyway,
he's found
it's just really.
if he's found guilty, can a judge decide to lift that court order?
I
Well,
imagine
I think
so.
I think there'd be no doubt about it.
I think there'd be no doubt about it. I
Yeah.
think they'd have to, yeah.
Yeah, you can
Um,
understand how the
And
families feel
obviously,
about that.
what has been published, Village magazine and various other little sort of social media areas have been published is old. You know, it's
Yeah.
old imagery, etc.
Yeah.
I think it's hard not to be interested in who this guy was, what he did, since what's alleged he did in Bloody Sunday, where he went, where his career took him,
Yeah.
and where he is now, you know.
Yeah.
It's like one of those stories like Scappaticci. What fascinated me was where he ended up,
Yeah.
you know, and what his life looked like
And the house
at
he
that
lived
point,
in
and how do you live with yourself?
Yeah.
You can imagine while you're in the middle of this, you know, very brutal, bloody lifestyle, that you're caught up in it. But
it's the world around you, like
it's a total, and you're, you know, whatever is your personality disorder, you're probably excited by it, and you know, but you get older and you end up, you know, in a flat somewhere on your own, surrounded by nothing but your thoughts and your memories. And how do you cope with that, and how do you live? That always interests me.
Yeah, it always interests me as well.
Do any of these, do people who, is everybody capable of having a conscience at some stage as they maybe come near to facing their maker? Or is a pure psychopath never, ever, ever going to blink and think they shouldn't have done what they did?
Well, I think they can justify things in their own head, and especially particularly with crimes committed, the Troubles, they try and justify it around a political war. And when neighbours that were living beside Scappaticci in the UK, that was very interesting. I thought about how they all could say oh, he was just a nice elderly man, and he didn't seem to be showing any outward signs of emotion about it anyway.
Yeah.
And the sorry reality is most of these people, in the time leads them to more stronger justifications of their own actions, as opposed to deeper reflection and regret of their own actions.
I think you need empathy to, you know, to have conscience and to regret and to feel those things, you know. You need empathy, and some people just simply don't have that.
And in fact, they harden their justifications in their own minds, and I think that's probably more common, and we see that a lot. Of course, there's other people who you know, have the sort of self-reflection.
Well, anyway, I think it's going to be a really interesting time, you know, whether the trial reaches its conclusion or not. It's amazing, and it's been an amazing campaign to have got somebody in the dock charged
100%
with murder. Incredible to have come this far, to have campaigned this long, over so many decades. Wouldn't you lose hope, and wouldn't you lose?
But it's like the Stardust campaign. It always remind those two things, they have that sort of similarity, that the initial reaction to this incredible loss of life, and, you know, in both cases, was for the establishment to protect first the people in positions of privilege, and then to justify it and try and shut it down. And the only way that it's kept alive is through incredible sacrifice from the victims and their families, and the toll it takes on them over time to keep that campaign going. Because you have to, there's the initial justification, then people just naturally want to sort of move on and forget, the public attention moves on to something else, and they have to keep fighting and fighting. And then maybe get a newer generation of political figures or legal figures or media figures involved. And it's
relentless.
It's relentless, and it does take a toll on them personally, even though the good work that they do for society is for healing in society. It can often take a personal toll, you know.
Anyway, so that was what I was having a little look at this week. Do you want to end on a lighter note? No?
Do we have any more quirky ones?
Us, and they're grinning away.
Not always has the
stupid
quirky
t-shirt.
Are you now that you're down with the kids
to finish us? Just show the lad.
I've already shown.
Now that he's down with the kids, and he went to see Chapel Roan, are you going to bring your kids to see The Weekend in Croke Park?
The Weekend,
it's been announced. That's the next big act.
I know The Weekend, actually.
Do you actually know?
Yeah, I do know The Weekend.
Are you going to return to your youth at all? Did you feel a little bit of that? I never spoke to you about this. Did you feel a little bit like you were in your 20s again?
When I went to the rave in the woods.
That did make me laugh, not to give you compliment. He said he was the soberest and oldest man in the rave in the woods.
Yeah.
And actually, by the way, later today we're going to broadcast, and for audio listeners and viewers, going to show that show that we did, because we didn't go to EP just to go to raves in the woods and dance tents and everything. We did go actually on a working mission to bring Cocaine Cowboys, a Crime World live show, to the venue, to the Minefield venue. And we put on the show, and we have recorded it, videoed. It's a bit shaky, but it's there. And we have discussed at length our own experiences at it. I think, did we?
We discussed it, we discussed our
But it was the psychology of feeling 20 again. I mean, I still identify as being a bit 26.
Now, not to call you out though, both of you only lasted till Sunday morning. NASA does have a lot of years on.
Did she stay till Monday?
She stayed till Monday morning, so she was in you guys didn't give her the glamp, and she was in the proper tent.
I offered her.
Yeah, she said that on the Saturday. Yeah.
But she wasn't.
So she lasted a lot longer than you did.
She is probably is she 25 years younger than me?
Yeah. It's 27.
Oh, I'm making myself.
I'll be. She's only a couple of decades off me.
By the way, I have it written in stone. By the way, your 50th. Yeah. I have it in my diary.
I'm going to organise a lunch.
Yeah,
we're going to Thursday. We're going to do a lunch.
Yeah, I'll make sure to wear my t-shirt.
Why don't we invite our? Oh, and I'm going to do something a bit fun next week. By the way, what I'm going to do is the much wanted Cocaine Cowboys t-shirt. I have a handful of them left, right? Yeah. And I'm going to bring them in, and we're going to give them away. So we're going to come up with some sort of a thing that we'll ask our viewers and listeners to do. I was half thinking, does anyone have good pictures, either from EP or other events, where they've been photobombed?
Yeah.
Yeah?
What, the best one kind of thing?
I like that. I just love the photobomb. I think it's a fantastic, it is fun when you actually, I have a fabulous photobomb from Vegas. And I might just show it to you next week when we're doing this. It was absolutely one of the best photobombs I think I've ever seen. No, I didn't photobomb. A photograph I was taking was photobombed. Okay. In actual fact, I have a video of the entire bombing. It is brilliant. But anyway, we might do something like that. But I'll bring the t-shirts in, and they're the last ones up for grab. Never again to be printed. Yes. Is all I can say.
Yes.
So, and you have yours, I have mine. Do you have one?
I don't have one, no.
I'll give you one.
No. Oh, thanks very much.
You're on the list. And Asha Bukla has her one. She's got the medium because she's only a smallie. So there you go. We'll do that next week. But in the meantime, we'll gather again next week and see what's going on.
I thought you were about to say there's a competition to go to Niall's birthday lunch, and I was like, God, I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
No, well, maybe
you're not allowed to go anyway. Then after that comment,
I'm organising it. But we want to save members of the public from having
probably
to
be on
there.
one of your career breaks anyway.
Yeah,
so.
probably. You're the reason why I go on so many.
I'll tell you, we're going to have the month, countdown.
The birthday month.
Yeah, birthday month countdown to the 50th. What am I going to get you? Oh my God, the man who has everything. A few t-shirts.
I didn't think you got him presents. Remember,
I will.
I got him socks at Christmas, and you tried to make it sound weird.
You'll see at electric.
Was it weird?
You see at electric picnic. There was. This is how would you feel now if this is you, Emer? Right?
What happened?
There was a couch for the podcast people, right?
Yeah.
Now a 3-man couch, so we weren't rubbing up against each other, right? So we sat down on the couch, and she said, "No, we're too close to each other."
Why were your knees?
And she dragged in the armchairs.
Oh yeah.
I made him move the couch and bring 2 armchairs in.
That's a real blow, isn't it?
Yeah, it broke your ego.
He was the one that they decided in his...
You don't like people touching you, though.
When they psychologically examined him that he didn't like physical touch from human beings.
I didn't think you'd like that.
She wasn't even willing to be within 3 feet of me.
I didn't think you'd want that. Maybe she was worried people get the wrong idea if you were sitting really close together.
I just thought we looked like an owl, weird, sort of ornamental... I don't know. I just felt we looked weird sitting on a couch side by side.
I didn't necessarily want to sit on the couch myself, but I would have been cognizant of her feelings that I wouldn't have suggested. Get rid of it.
But Emer, on top of it, then it was a really low couch, so my knees were up to my chin.
Oh, okay, I know those couches,
look?
the kind of Father Ted kind of couches. And did you? I wanted to ask actually, did you have was the crowd different than you normally get? Like, was it drunk people heckling you?
No, nobody was drunk. No.
You always get great supportive crowd.
Yeah. No, they were really nice, and loads of them stopped at the end to say hello. No, it was a kind of so it was a big enough tent now, wasn't it? So the tent was full, the seats were full, and everybody was sitting around the ground, and then it was sort of spilling out as well. So lots of people came, and I did know a few of them now, I have to say, who stopped. Actually, my aunt came, and a few of my little cousins, my littlies came. So, which was great to see them.
My 2 kids were there. And my son said to me, "You're actually kind of funny," and he said, Why aren't you more like that in real life?
Oh, wow. Wow, that's you said, yeah.
He just got insulted left, right, and centre.
Stop giving out to me all the time.
Wow, that's a backhanded
Yeah.
compliment.
I'm Nicola Tallant, and you're watching Crime World, a podcast about criminals, drugs, and the underworld in Ireland and across the globe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can be the first to watch all our latest episodes. You can also listen wherever you get your podcasts.